Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of The Stack. This time I bring you caster extraordinaire. One Tannon Grace. I almost said the, but then I said one, as in you are just one. But
sure, we'll go with that.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Flake. How are you doing today? I'm very jealous of your weekend. You got to go, play with some great Flesh and Blood players and visit the zoo with a lot of my favorite people. So I'm very jealous of you right now.
Well, the zoo could also have been Harry Tarantula, but
that's what I was talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, the Saturday was with Charmer at the Toronto Zoo. Sunday was playing in an RTN, finished 10th. The field, again, another murderer's row of just incredible people. My early loss to none other than one Isaac Crute is, again,
the GOAT.
The downfall of my entire existence. But are you ready, my friend, to play the stack?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So, again, you know what to do. I'm going to give you 9 statements. Each statement, you have to tell me if they resolve, as in, yeah, I agree, or they fizzle, as in, not going to happen. So here we go. Uprising is the best draft experience in Flesh and Blood so far.
Fizzle. I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge Tales of Aria stan. I think it's the best draft format we've had. While every format I feel has a good part and a bad part, like none of them have been absolutely perfect, I think that one is the most rich and diverse draft format that we've seen.
I agree with you there.
Let's give it a little more time on Uprising as well. It's still a little new.
Foils should be banned from major tournaments.
Fizzle. I think players like to customize their decks in multiple ways. I'm a big fan of expressing yourself through your cards, through your decks, through your sleeves. We get a million different custom sleeves, right? Like, why can't we play all the different versions of our cards? Just, if you're gonna play a Fabled card in a tournament upcoming, maybe talk to the head judge before you shuffle it up in the tournament.
Yeah, there's been too many incidents of just
agreed
unfortunate curling that occurred.
Not that we can do about it, but
it happens. Being a successful drafter is harder than being a successful player in Classic Constructed.
Oh man, that's a hard question, and I feel like you're setting me up to really get love from half the community and hate from half the community on my answer.
Those are the best questions.
Yeah, I kind of want to say both, like fizzles and resolves. I gotta say, coming from Magic, I definitely would say that is correct. That like it's harder to be a good drafter than it is to be a good constructed player. And I feel that playing limited is the best way to learn either one of these games, because it puts you through all the basic scenarios of the game, attacking, blocking, the actual meat and potatoes of Flesh and Blood. And then it also kind of like stretches the brain muscles a little bit, where you're put through a lot of different scenarios and you have to like learn and adapt that way. Instead of let's say you started playing and the first deck you played was Starvo, and that's the only deck you've ever played. And look, it's a good deck. It's hard to play correctly. You saw the best players do the best with that deck. But at the same time, the play patterns on it aren't exactly leading you down to getting, the full spectrum of Flesh and Blood, if you know what I'm trying to say there. So I'm going to go a slight resolve that it's a little bit harder to be a good drafter than a good CC player, because there's the extra stuff there.
Sounds
Without
good.
going even further into it, I could make that answer an hour.
3 sets per year is enough.
Resolves. Yeah, I think 3 sets a year is enough. I would like to see 2 draftable sets a year. Preferably just on the 6-month, thing. Every 6 months we get a new draftable set. But I think 3 sets a year is enough, especially with the outside forces kind of like having effect on it. Because look, I'm a player just like everybody at home, right? You and I play Flesh and Blood even when we're at the events casting. We play in between rounds. We play in our hotel room. I love the game. I want to play more. I want new cards just like everybody. But in what's going on in the world right now, it's very hard for A, to have enough people working on all this, and B, getting it out on time. Like, you've seen a lot of these delays going on, and I'm gonna let you know, it hasn't been LSS's fault for most of these. And I'm not trying to put the blame on anyone specific, but if we were going up to 4 sets a year, I think you would see longer delays, other problems happening. It's happening in other card games right now where they're having to shift the release dates of everyone. It seems like it happens every couple months. And I think Flesh and Blood's in a really good spot. Let's be happy with what we got.
Flesh and Blood should release premium products a la Secret Lair.
I mean, I think we're gearing towards that, right? So I'm gonna say resolves. I'm gonna say that this is something that I think should happen and will happen in the future. Maybe a little bit higher of a price point, a little bit higher of an MSRP on some of the stuff, and more geared towards the collector. Because I've got to say this, and I think this rhetoric hasn't happened enough. We haven't talked about this enough, and I was gonna put it up on Twitter sometime soon. The Flesh and Blood 2.0, the movement from first edition and non-first edition packs, I think has just been a huge net positive for the game. Yeah, there's always going to be the dissenting, few of like, I was a collector, I like to buy first edition, stash it, that's the era of the dinosaur here. Like, that's gone, right? But I think for the health of the game, the overall just good experience for the player at home and opening packs, I think it's just been a home run with the last two big changes they've made, the paper packs and Flesh and Blood 2.0 with no first edition.
Yeah.
Love where they're bringing the game.
Henry Cavill as Bravo is good casting.
Oh, resolves 100%. I think that's actually like as soon as you said it, I was like, that's actually perfect, because like he's got the exact body type, right? He's got like the really small waist and the huge barrel chest, and he's got like the right amount of chest hair for the outfit. And I mean, like, you could just take some of his Witcher outfits probably and just port it directly into the show. I'm assuming we're going to get a Netflix Flesh and Blood show at some point. James, if you're listening to this, when they option it, if you don't let me and Flake voice a character, like if it's animated, if you don't let us voice a character, we might have a problem, because I don't care who it is. I don't care how small the character is. Just let me voice somebody.
I'll be an ant. I'll be a pea. I'll be a talking tree. I'll be anything. I don't care.
I'll be like the barkeep when they walk in and just be like, hey, what do you boys want? And that's it. Like that's it. That's
one
my
line. Give me an IMDb page.
3 words.
That's it.
What do you want?
PvE is needed in Flesh and Blood.
I'm gonna say resolves. That's not really my realm. I'm more of the like super diving into the competitive scene, high level play, etc. Like that's where most of my knowledge is and my attention is, right? But we've got to understand that for the health of the game, those are the people who buy the most product, who bring the most new people in. They are the most important people in Flesh and Blood, in my opinion. And so giving those people more outlets to play, more ways to play, and then more reasons to have more cards is just a good thing, right? Like, how many times do you open a pack and there's no card in there for you, right? Think about Everfest. Like that was a set where it was very hit or miss if you're a constructed player, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of those cards are going to make their way into some of these things that you're talking about. So I think that helps kind of bridge the gap of being for the competitive player and the non-competitive player.
Like, I've been very enthralled. I'm not a very much of a PvE style person, but I've dumped dozens and dozens of hours lately into the Legends of Runeterra Path of Champions, and I started merely to build a collection and use it as a way to accumulate resources, but I've now just been geared up to solid.
Exactly.
Like, it's so good.
I mean, I do it in Magic the Gathering, so it's a similar thing, like you said. There's different ways to play, and you need to at least acknowledge all of the different ways, in my opinion. So
I hear you. Talentless classes are obsolete.
I mean, resolves. I mean, we'll probably get some in the future, but that are going to be good. But I want to see how you balance that, right? Because like that means you have to push something really hard, but then at the same time, depending on what class it is, like if it's just talentless ninja, right? Or talentless archer or something, at some point you get to the problem where there's just too many cards. Like the biggest problem with Starvo was that it got to use the most cards, right? It had the biggest card pool, and then from that, it just got to make the deck too good, right? So I don't envy the job that the people at LSS do to balance that, but it does seem like the way of talentless stuff is going to be a little less impactful or less good and synergistic than the ones that do have that.
Less than half of the Pro Tour top 8 in France will be North American.
Oh, resolves. I think we're going to see maybe 1 or 2. Mostly because the travel, right? I think we're going to see a larger contingent of non-North American players. I am lumping Canada in there, right? Of course.
I thank you. Yes.
Yes, of course. I'm just saying for people at home, I'm not just talking about the US. I'm also talking about Canada, which I think pound for pound is one of the best represented countries in the entire world for Flesh and Blood. The amount of talent north of the border here is unreal for how many people you have playing. Like you said, the tournaments you play in at Harry Tarantula, for instance, I think are some of the most dense and talent-filled tournaments in the world.
Dude, it's like unfair. It's like you walk into a buzzsaw. You walk in there, like
there's like multiple Pro Tour champions.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, like my pod is just this murderer's row
Yeah.
of just beasts.
Like, I still remember when you and I first started getting involved in the game, you would tell me the people you played against. I'm like, do you know who that is? Like, that's maybe they don't have a huge name yet in Flesh and Blood, but this guy won like multiple pro tours in another game. But the answer, to put it down to brass tacks, we did like a preview show and we had some guesses on what was going to happen to the pro tour here in America. And I joked and I was like, I can't wait for the Europeans to show up and just blow everybody out the water. And I was like, kind of joking, but kind of not, right? I was like, we haven't really seen them get to like really celebrate on a huge stage like we have the Americans and half the Canadians and a little bit to New Zealanders before, our time in the game. But I think it cannot be understated how good Europeans are at card games. And I think they're just going to continue to show that dominance in France.
I would say that's probably true, and I think that the travel aspect is also definitely an indicator. But Mr. Tannon Grace, I do appreciate you coming and playing the stack with me. And for all of those who don't know, Tannon, you will be in France. You will be part of the casting crew and one of the hardest working guys in show business. I don't know who had that moniker before. It may have been like Rodney Dangerfield, but now it's you, Tannon Grace. So cheers to you, my friend. You no respect at all. But for those who want to sort of follow along the journey of one Tannon Grace, where can they find you?
I think the easiest place to find me right now is just on Twitter under the Tannon Grace, like you were saying earlier, not a Tannon Grace, but the Tannon Grace. And that's usually where you can find me the most. I go through phases. Like I'm usually really active or really not active, depending on how busy I am with IRL stuff. And I've been pretty busy lately and recovering a lot as well. I'm surprised we got through this whole thing without me dying of coughing through this show. So I'm going to stop talking so we don't tempt fate there.
Well, you made it through, my friend. So thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you guys for watching and listening. This has been The Stack. Don't forget, friends, you're not losing if you're learning, so keep playing the game. We'll catch you next time on The Stack.